Om Shri Sai Ram. My dear children, in the previous session we discussed our state Karnataka. Today we are moving to see another lesson. I won't reveal the name of that lesson. Before we look into that lesson, let us discuss. See, history. The scientific study of past events are called history. Here, for the easier study of history, we classified history into ancient history, medieval history, modern history. Whenever you study world history or Indian history or state history, we classified for the easiest study. The ancient history, then prehistoric period, there is no proper sources to study what and all happened. But after the ancient history or medieval history, taking some sources, considering some sources, they written the history. Okay. Today we are going to see medieval India and political transition. What is this medieval? See, already I mentioned ancient history, medieval history and modern history. Here, medieval India, medieval India, Madhya Yugada Bharata, it is called Madhya Yugada Bharata, and political changes. What are the political changes occurred during this? Political changes or transition? Transition. What do you mean by transition? Transition. A swift change, a rapid change, that is called a transition. In Kannada, ಸ್ಥಿತ್ಯಂತರ, ಒಂದು ಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಿಂದ ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಸ್ಥಿತಿಗೆ ಹೋಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. From one stage to another stage, moving from one stage to another stage. That is called a transition. Today we are going to see medieval India and political transition. What is this political transition? What made this transition? Today we are going to see. The period between second half of the 12th century, just to see, 12th century and first half of the 13th century. Once again, I repeat this, second half of the 12th century and first half of the 13th century is recognized as the transitional period in Indian history. This is called transitional period. Why historians called this is a transitional period? Why did they call this transitional period? Let us see what are the indicators of the transitional period. Transitional period indicates the preparedness of the society to enter from one era to another era. Here, the entire Indian society prepared to enter one society, see, one era, one yugadinda, see, one era to another era. This is the clear indicator. This is the indicator. In this transitional period, the Indian society entered medieval period. Here, India entered medieval period. Medieval period. See. Now it is very clear. Second half of the 12th century, the first half of the 13th century. AD or contemporary era. Here, the Turks broke the political system of the small kingdoms. Before second half of the 12th century, we are going back. We are moving back. The Turks broke out the political system of small kingdoms. What type of the kingdoms prevailed there? Small kingdoms were there. Small kingdoms prevailing there. When? Before the second half of the 12th century. But who broke out this system? Turks broke out. Who? Turks. Turks from Turkey or Arab, they broke the political system of small kingdoms. Before that, there were so many tiny kingdoms, small kingdoms, tundu arasaru idru, until second half of the 12th century. But they broke out that, and they brought some changes. They also established an empire which had strong centralized power structure. What type of? These Turks were able to establish strong centralized power structure. Here, what do you mean by strong centralized power structure? For example, this is a kingdom. Here, king is the head. King is the head. The entire kingdom came under the control of king. See, each words and law came under the control of king. The entire power vested in the hands of king. This is strong centralized power structure. Who introduced it in India? Turks introduced this. Turks introduced this in India. This is a transitional. ಇದು ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗೆ ಕಾರಣವಾಯಿತು. Transitional period. Then monotheism was expounded in the field of religion due to the influence of Islam. Here, first one is strong centralized power. Strong centralized. This is one of the characteristics. Second one is monotheism expounded. What do you mean by monotheism? What do you mean by monotheism? Worshipping one single God. That is monotheism. What do you mean by polytheism? Worshipping more than one God is called polytheism. Here monotheism was expanded due to the influence of Islam. Just these Turks were Islam. They were Muslims. So they stressed the idea of single God or monotheism. This idea was expanded. All these development indicates the beginning of medieval period in India. What are the changes? First one is centralized power structure. Second one is monotheism. All these developments indicate in the beginning of medieval period in India. And before the study of the empire established by the Turks, it is necessary to understand the multi-state political system which was prevailing pre-Turk period. Pre-Turk period means, this we can call pre-Turk period. Pre-Turk period. This means second half of the 12th century is the beginning of the transitional period. Before that, before 12th century, multi-state political system was there. Multi-political system and pre-Turk period was called that. Now I'll ask some questions so that we can come to know how much we understood this lesson. The first one is, when was India entered to medieval period from ancient period? When was India entered the medieval period from the ancient period? The first question. Today's first question. Today's second question. What are the developments that indicate the beginning of the medieval period in India? I won't repeat. Third question. Third question. who brought the strong centralized administrative system in India? That is the third question. Okay, now we come to know this is the transitional period. Who set the muhurtam for the transitional period? You know that. And monotheism was expounded, that you know. Before the study of the empire established by the Turks, it is necessary to understand the multi-state political system of the pre-Turk period. That means the rule of small kings. The rule of small kings is called multi-state political system. The fourth question is, what do you mean by multi-state political system? Multi-state political system. The state, here the study of the multi-state political system can be started with the study of Rajput. One of the prominent dynasties of India. They ruled over many years, many centuries, that ruled western and northern India from 9th century to 13th century. If we go through the dynasty, Rajput dynasties, we can come to know this multi-state political system. Bahurajya Rajkiya Paddhati yenna ನಾವು ಕಂಡುಕೊಳ್ಳಬಹುದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ. Here you can see the image also that tells clearly. Now let us see Rajput dynasty. Now I will ask one more question. Who was the prominent ruler of Vardhana dynasty? That you studied in 8th standard. That question is out of box. Who is the prominent ruler of Vardhana dynasty? You know that? Harshavardhana. After the rule of Vardhanas of the Staneshwara, most of the western and northern India was ruled by Gurjar Pratiharas. You know that? Harshavardhana was one of the prominent ruler of Vardhana dynasty of Staneshwara. After the decline of Vardhanas, the most of the western India was ruled by, western means here, just these regions were, almost all these regions were ruled by Gurjara Pratiharas. Now we are going to see Gurjara Pratihara dynasties. And not only Gurjara Pratihara dynasties, Bundel, here Gurjara Pratiharas, Bundelkhand Chandelas, Garwalas, Solankis, Paramaras, many Rajput dynasties. Many Rajput dynasties ruled over the western or northwestern part of India. By the end of the 12th century, Rajput kings like Prithviraj Chauhan, Jayachandra, then Paramarthi Deva Chandel were the prominent and powerful kings of northern India. One more question now. Who were the powerful rulers of Rajput kingdom of northern India by the end of 12th century? By the end of 12th century. Once again, who are the powerful Rajput kings of northern India by the end of 12th century? Answer is very simple. Prithviraj Chauhan, Jayachandra Garwal and Paramarthi Deva Chandela were the powerful kings of northern India. See, you may think that why we should learn this history, why we should learn Rajputs. This is important. When we understood history, we can create a history. If you want to construct a future, you should have the knowledge of history. ನನಗೆ ಯಾಕಪ್ಪ ಈ ಇವ್ರದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಓದೋದು ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಭಾವಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ತಪ್ಪು. If you want to construct a future, a country, you should have the knowledge of your country. You should have the history knowledge of your country. Now we are going to see Gurjara Pratiharas. Gurjara Pratiharas, one of the prominent dynasties of Rajputs. Gurjara Pratiharas. Yes. And they claim in many of their inscriptions that they belong to Lakshmana of Ramayana period, a Kshatriya of Surya Vamsha, as the founding person of their family. Or ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. They, in many inscriptions, they claimed themselves as they belonged to Lakshmana of Ramayana period and Kshatriya of Surya Vamsha as the founding fathers and the founding person of their family. But as per the inscriptions and other details, evidences, Nagabhatta is the founder of this dynasty. Nagabhatta is the founder. Now my question is, who is the founder of Gurjara Pratihara dynasty? As per the evidences, Nagabhatta was the founder. Then Pratiharas ruled Sindh region. They ruled what? Once again, approximately this Indian map is not up to the scale. Okay, Sindh region. See this. Formerly, you know that Pakistan was also part of India. It was an integral part of India. Here, this is the Sindh region. Sindh. They started ruling from Sindh region by keeping Kanuj as their capital city. Sindh region and Kanuj was there. Kanuj was their capital city. Which is the capital city of Karnataka? Which is the capital city of Karnataka? Which is the capital city of Gurjara Pratihara? The capital city of Gurjara Pratihara is Dash. Okay. They fought back. See, during their time, Arabs attacked their empire frequently. That means now and then. They fought back the frequent Arab attacks. Here Mihira Bhoja, Mahendrapala, the powerful ruler of this dynasty, had defeated the Palas of Bengal and extended their Pratihara kingdom till Bengal. See, this is the military advent of Gurjara Pratihara dynasty. See, they fought back with the Arabs. They fought back the frequent Arab attacks. Second one is they defeated the Palas of Bengal and extended their kingdom till Bengal. This is, then there is a image, Mihira Bhoja's image, that you can see. One of the Arab travelers who had visited the court of Mihira Bhoja, it is none other than Suleiman. What did he say? What did he say about Mihira Bhoja's administration and kingdom? He appreciated the kingdom as it had peace. Pratihara rule declined during the rule of Mahipala, who succeeded Mahendrapala. See, was the Arab traveler visited the Gurjara Pratihara kingdom? That was Suleiman. He visited the court of Mihira Bhoja and has appreciated the kingdom as it had peace. Then it declined andre ಏನಾಯಿತು? ಅವನತಿ ಹೊಂದಿತು. Now you can see the map of Gurjara Pratihara. Now you can see Gurjara map of Pratihara kingdom. And one more prominent dynasties of Rajput kingdom, that was Garhwalas. Now we are moving to see Garhwalas and Gahadwalas or Gahadwalas. ಆ ರೀತಿ ಕರೀತಾರೆ ಅವರನ್ನು. Let us see. Garhwalas. Who was the founder of Gurjara Pratihara dynasty, Nagabhatta. Mention the Arab traveler who had visited, and one more question, note down this. Sixth question. Mention the Arab traveler who had visited Mihrapala's court. Now, seventh question. Who is the founder of Garhwalas? Chandradeva. Who? Chandradeva was the founder of this dynasty and ruled the northern India, keeping Varanasi was their capital. Govinda Chandra is another important ruler of this dynasty. He extended his rule till Malwa. Till Malwa means this is the Malwa region. Who? Here Chandradeva was one of the founder and Govinda Chandra is another. Govinda Chandra was another important ruler of Garhwala dynasty. He extended his territory till Malwa, that I mentioned here. Malwa Plateau. See, this is Malwa. He extended his rule, Malwa and Magad, by defeating Palas. Then he also defeated the kings of Kalinga and Odisha. Then he had cordial relationship with some rulers, like the rulers of Kashmir, the rulers of Gujarat, and rulers of, that Cholas. That means the rulers of Kashmir, Gujarat and Chola had cordial relationship with Govinda Chandra. Here you can note down that the military expeditions of Govinda Chandra. Okay, now let us see another prominent dynasties of Rajput dynasty, that is Paramaras. Paramaras, one of the prominent Rajput dynasty. Paramaras. Who is the founder of this dynasty? See, Paramaras came into prominence after the decline of Pratiharas, Gurjar Pratiharas. Here, Upendra Krishna. Who? Upendra Krishna. He was the feudatory king of Rashtrakutas. He founded Paramara dynasty. Daranagar was their capital. Here, that is the administrative center. And here, the Bhoja is the most popular king of Paramara dynasty. He extended the Paramara dynasty by defeating Kalyani Chalukyas, Kalinga, Gangas and northern Konkans. See, during the administrations of Bhoja, he saw ups and downs, success and failures. He met with success and failures in his political sphere. Though he saw ups and downs in his political sphere, he remained undefeated in the area of literature. See, though he is a king, he was a proficient and a prolific poet. He did many works in literature. He himself was a poet. As the king who came after him were weak, the Paramara dynasty came declining. See, whenever we think of Paramaras, immediately a name come to our mind, that is Bhoja. See, though he saw ups and downs in his political sphere, he was a poet. He did several works in literature. And one more dynasty today we are going to see, that is Solankis. Before we are going to see that, the 8th question, who is the founder of Paramara dynasty? Okay, now we are going to see Solankis. Mularaja was the founder of Solankis. He was the founder of this dynasty. Here, one of the prominent rulers was Bhima. Who? Bhima first. He was one of the prominent rulers. Though he was famous, though he was the most famous king of Solanki dynasties, he could not protect Somanatha temple from Ghazni invasion. Now you come to know Ghazni invaded Somanatha temple. Whenever you trace the Indian history, it is drastic hit to Indian history. You know that Indian dynasties. Muhammad Ghazni, he invaded Somanatha temple. See, he made several attacks on India, but Somanatha temple attack was one of the most terrific attack. He could not resist. Bhima could not resist the attacks from Ghazni. By this we can conclude, see, many small rulers from Afghanistan or Turkey came to India and attacked Indian states. Though India was such a large country, why we could not resist them? And why did they attack India? Just imagine. That is food for thought. Just imagine. ಯಾಕೆ ಈ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅವರು? ನಮಗೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಅವರನ್ನು ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ? What is the drawback for this incident? That we have to think once. Okay. After him, Mulraja II and Veeradavula were capable kings. Mulraja II defeated Muhammad Ghazni near Mount Abu. See, Bhima could not resist, but the ruler of the same dynasty, Mulraja II, defeated Muhammad Ghazni at Mount Abu. Mount Abu. It is located in Aravali mountain ranges. Just think about that. During the rule of this dynasty, the famous Jain scholar Hemachandra compiled Prakrit dictionary that is called Deshi Mala. Deshi Mala. Then Ulugh Khan and Nasrat Khan, the military generals of Alauddin Khilji, defeated the Karnadeva and made the kingdom of Solankis part of Delhi Sultanate. See, Mulraj II was successful to defeat Muhammad Ghazni, but the same dynasty could not resist the attacks from Alauddin Khilji. Alauddin Khilji, he sent commanders Ulugh Khan and Nasrat Khan to defeat the Solankis. Who was the ruler of that time? Karnadeva. See, Ulugh Khan and Nasrat Khan of the military generals of Alauddin Khilji defeated Karnadeva and made the kingdom, Solanki kingdom, the part of Delhi Sultanate. Dear children, today we discuss it. Gurjara Pratiharas, Garwalas, Paramaras and Solankis. Just go through textbook. Just go through this video and study why this political transition happened and what are the factors responsible and how Gurjara Pratiharas they established and extended their kingdoms, and who are the founders of Paramaras and Solankis, how Ghazni made attack on them. These are all the things we learnt here. So I request you, go through the video, don't waste your time. This is very, very important and very precious time. You don't waste. Sai Ram.